What if we live in the Middle Ages? It might sound like an absurd question, but it's not quite as far-fetched as you may think. From disease outbreaks to economic uncertainty and political upheaval, there are some striking similarities between the challenges we faced over the past couple of years and the struggles that people experienced during the Middle Ages. So, what if we do live in the Middle Ages? What would it take for us to get back to a more modern way of life? How would we have to change our behavior and our systems to emerge from this medieval period and create a better future for ourselves? Let's start by considering how we got here in the first place. The Middle Ages spanned from the 5th to the 15th century in Europe, marking a period of history between the fall of the Roman Empire and the beginning of the Renaissance. This era was characterized by significant social, economic, and technological changes, including the emergence of feudalism, the growth of cities, and the Black Death pandemic. Now, obviously, none of these things are unique to the medieval period, but they were all significant factors in shaping the course of human history. Feudalism, for example, was a decentralized political and economic system that replaced the centralized Roman model. It organized society into a hierarchy with the king at the top, followed by nobles, knights, and peasants. This system heavily relied on land ownership and personal loyalties, which led to the creation of rigid social classes and limited opportunities for social mobility. Sound familiar? Well, maybe it should. Feudalism has been making a comeback in recent years. Some argue that we now live in a new feudal system where a small group of wealthy landowners and corporations control most of the resources and the majority of people work as wage laborers. And then there's the growth of cities. During the Middle Ages, many people migrated to urban areas in search of better economic opportunities. This led to the growth of commercial centers, the rise of merchant classes, and the introduction of new technologies. Today, most of us live in cities, which are often seen as centers of opportunity and innovation. But, as anyone who's spent time in a big city can attest, they can also be hotbeds of poverty, inequality, and disease. Just look at the current opioid crisis in places like Philadelphia and Detroit. Or consider the extreme wealth and income inequality found in cities like New York and San Francisco. Finally, the Black Death. This devastating pandemic killed millions of people across Europe and Asia in the 14th century, leading to widespread social and economic disruption. It's estimated that the plague killed around 30 to 50% of Europe's population, leaving a profound impact on the continent's demographics and economy. And while the COVID-19 pandemic hasn't been nearly as deadly, it's still ongoing and has caused significant disruptions to our lives. Lockdowns, travel bans, and social distancing measures have become commonplace in many parts of the world and continue to cause social and economic upheaval. In fact, the World Health Organization recently reported that the number of people living in extreme poverty has increased by over 100 million since the pandemic began, which is more than double the pre-pandemic estimates. Now, these are just a few of the ways that the challenges we've faced over the past couple of years mirror those of the Middle Ages. But they all serve to illustrate how fragile our modern way of life really is. With so much of our society and economy built on complex systems that can easily be disrupted, it's not hard to imagine us sliding backwards if another pandemic were to hit, or if our climate continues to change rapidly. So, what would it take to pull ourselves out of this medieval mindset and create a better future for ourselves? Well, one approach would be to learn from the mistakes of the past. One of the biggest problems facing the medieval world was the lack of scientific knowledge and the prevalence of superstition and religious dogma. This led to a number of harmful practices, such as the persecution of those accused of witchcraft and the burning of books and other materials deemed heretical. To move forward, we need to embrace reason and logic over superstition and fear. We need to be willing to challenge long-held beliefs and be open to new ideas and perspectives. This means promoting critical thinking and education and protecting the freedom of speech and the press. It also means being aware of our own biases and the dangers of groupthink. Another major issue during the Middle Ages was the widespread poverty and inequality. The feudal system and the lack of economic opportunity left the vast majority of people struggling to survive, while a small elite class enjoyed great wealth and power. To break free from this cycle, we need to create a more equitable society that provides opportunities for everyone regardless of their background or circumstances. This means addressing issues such as income inequality, access to education and healthcare, and ensuring that everyone has a voice in government. It also means promoting economic systems that prioritize fairness and sustainability over pure profit. A third lesson we can learn from the Middle Ages is the importance of public health and safety. As we've seen with the COVID-19 pandemic, a single disease outbreak can have devastating consequences for society. During the Middle Ages, the lack of basic medical knowledge and the unsanitary conditions in cities and towns led to the spread of deadly diseases such as the Black Death. To prevent similar outbreaks in the future, we need to invest in public health infrastructure, promote preventive care and hygiene, and be prepared to respond quickly to emerging diseases. This means supporting organizations like the World Health Organization, funding research into new treatments and vaccines, and educating the public about the importance of public health measures. Of course, there's no guarantee that we'll be able to avoid another medieval-like period in the future. There are always going to be new challenges and threats that emerge, and it's impossible to predict what the future will hold. However, by learning from the mistakes of the past and working to create a more equitable, sustainable, and scientifically literate society, we can put ourselves in a better position to weather whatever storms may come our way. The Middle Ages weren't all bad. They were a time of great intellectual and artistic achievement, as well as significant social and economic change. But it's important to remember that every age has its problems. Our current era is no different. Rather than focusing on the negative aspects of the past, we can try to learn from the achievements of the Middle Ages and apply them to our own lives. This might mean studying the works of medieval scientists and philosophers, or appreciating the beauty of medieval art and architecture. It could also mean emulating the courage and resilience of the people who lived through the hardships of the Middle Ages. Ultimately, the question of whether we live in the Middle Ages isn't really an empirical one. It's a matter of perspective. We could point to the backwardness of our politics, the pervasiveness of poverty and inequality, and the fragility of our food and energy systems, and argue that, yes, we're living in the Middle Ages. Or we could focus on the progress we've made in areas such as medicine, technology, and human rights, and argue that we're living in a golden age. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. As individuals, we may feel powerless to change the course of history, but collective action can make a real difference. By working together, we can create a better future for ourselves and future generations. The question is, what kind of future do we want to create? Will it be one based on fear, ignorance, and inequality? Or will it be one based on reason, compassion, and sustainability? The answer is up to us. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like and comment below with your thoughts on what we can do to create a better future. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos.